Hello fight fans, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessie MMA Girl as usual, and I am here for the start of an amazing fight week because this is UFC 328 fight week. Of course, we have Khamzat Chimaev defending his UFC middleweight belt for the first time ever, and he'll be facing Sean Strickland, the All-American. And we have not only one belt on the line, but two, of course. We have Tulio, who will be taking on Joshua Van for Joshua Van's first title defense at flyweight as well. So huge things happening, huge main card. And I thought I would split my video into two parts because I have a lot to say about the prelim card, because as you may have noticed, this prelim card is not like the other prelim cards we have on any numbered event, or sometimes we do, but this prelim card in particular has so many huge names and huge fights that I thought I'd do a little breakdown and predictions for the prelim card so that I can do my picks and predictions for the main card separately. So this is your official breakdown and picks for the UFC 328 prelim card. Let's go. We have two prelim cards. We have the early prelim card and the main prelim card. And on the prelim card, we have 4 bouts to kick us off for UFC 328. To start off with, we have, of course, Kaiten Carpenter with a record of 8 victories to 2 defeats. And he'll be taking on Jose Ochoa in the first bout of the UFC 328 early prelims card. We then have Baysaingur Susurkaev. And if you remember this guy, he is also on this card, and he is Khamzat Chimaev, one of Khamzat Chimaev's best friends and training partners. And they are currently training with Santos Studios, with, of course, the Jackson Podcast Studios, and they are training together in camp together for this card. He's taking on Jordan Santos. I'm not going to be doing the predictions for the first 4 bouts on the early prelims card. I'm only going to be doing the predictions for the main prelims card. But if I were to give a prediction for this fight, Baysaingur by whatever he wants. 12-0, baby. Then we have, of course, Pat Sabatini taking on the Frenchman William Gomis. William Gomis is someone I follow quite actively because I live in France. So I was quite disappointed to see him on the early prelims card of a big fight card like this. But if they need to put him on an early prelims card because the star power is too much, then so be it. So good luck to William Gomis, who, of course, is representing the French flag in New Jersey for this UFC 328 card. And the last card on the early prelims card is Roman Kopylov versus Mark Tulio. That should be an interesting middleweight bout as well. Very excited to see it. And of course, seeing a Mark Tulio versus Roman Kopylov on the early prelims card is insane to me. So that just sets you up for what is a beautiful prelims card. So for this prelims card, we are going in first with Jared Gordon versus Jim Miller. Jim Miller, of course, he is one of the most, I was going to say ancient, that's not fair. He is one of the biggest and best veteran fighters on the UFC roster right now. He is, of course, a lightweight. He is not yet retired, and he won't be for some time, I think. I think he's hoping to do as Bruce Buffer wants to do. He wants to do UFC 100, 200, 300, and 400. Jim Miller is doing exactly that. So maybe he'll stay until UFC 400 and retire at that point. But if I were to choose between Jared Gordon and Jim Miller, I'm going to give this one to Jim Miller just because he has more experience. Jared Gordon has a lot of experience too. Age-wise, Jared Gordon is 37, and that would usually be very old for a lineup. But, of course, Jim Miller is 42, so he gets beaten in the age department already. I'm going to say Jim Miller just because I think he has the veteran experience that will get him over the edge against Jared Gordon. And I think that he'll get a UD in this one. Then we have Grant Dawson, who is coming back after his loss against Manuel Torres, where he got knocked out in the first round. So he's coming back after a nasty knockout, looking to make a statement at UFC 328. And he will be taking on Matthias Rebecki. Rebecki, of course, known for his huge fight of the night performance against Chris Duncan. He did lose via UD, but that was one of the biggest fights of last year. And I think they got fight of the month, if I'm not mistaken. So Matthias Rebecki on 20 victories to 4 defeats. Grant Dawson on 23 to 3. I want to say Matthias Rebecki, and I'm going to say Matthias Rebecki because he's a tough one. He's a tough one. Grant Dawson has everything in his locker to beat Matthias Rebecki, but I think that Matthias Rebecki is just too tough to beat the way that Grant Dawson would beat him. But I think this won't go to a finish. I think this will be another UD. So I'm predicting a second UD on this prelim card for UFC 328. We have, of course, Joel Alvarez coming back to fight Yaroslav Amosov. Yaroslav has a record of 29 victories to 1 single defeat. And of course, Joel Alvarez has a record of 23 victories to 3 defeats. I think Joel Alvarez, being a finishing machine, he's going to have a tough one here because he's only lost one fight in his whole professional career and he's won 29 of them. So he's not an easy opponent. So if I was to choose a winner in this fight, even though Joel Alvarez is a finishing machine, I'm going to be choosing Amosov for this one because I think he has everything in his locker to beat Joel Alvarez, and Amosov is a horrible opponent to give to Joel Alvarez. So Amosov by whatever he wants, but I'm going to say Amosov via UD or late finish in the third. And for our last final bout on the prelims card, of course, we have the featured prelim between the infamous Atiba Gaultier, who will be taking on Ozzy Diaz. Now, this fight is, of course, for me, a no-brainer here. If I was able to bet on these fights, because in France, we're not allowed to bet on any prelim fights, which is why I don't usually do my predictions on the prelim fights, by the way. If I were a betting man and I was able to bet on this fight, of course, I would bet on Atiba Gaultier. Now, Atiba Gaultier wasn't really exposed in his last fight, but of course he didn't have the fight that he usually does, especially in the UFC since he got to UFC. He was against Pulaev and he won via UD. And the fight was lackluster to say the least. But the silent assassin usually does exactly that, assassinate his opponents. And this was the first time at the UFC that we saw Atiba Gaultier go to a decision and not obliterate his opponent in the octagon at the time. So I was a little bit disappointed and surprised. But maybe he met his match in terms of skill sets. And I don't know. We don't know what Atiba was going through at the time. But maybe it wasn't his best camp because he didn't seem that into the fight at all. And he did sustain, I think, an injury during the fight, which had prevented him from finishing his opponent, of course. But this time around against Ozzy Diaz, I think, first of all, Atiba won't want to make the same mistake as he made last time by not finishing his opponent. Atiba Gaultier will finish Ozzy Diaz 100%. In the second or third round, I think this fight will not finish in the first round, but it may do. But in the second or third round, I would guarantee you, if it gets to the second or the third, there will be a finish in one of those rounds, especially the second, I think is most likely. And we'll get a KO finish from Atiba Gaultier, who is currently sitting on a record of 10-1, and Ozzy Diaz is at 10-3. So similar records here, but Atiba Gaultier is not anything like Ozzy Diaz, and I think that Atiba Gaultier will tear things up in the featured prelim of UFC 328, and he well deserves his place as the featured prelim. So what do you guys think of this exciting prelim card for UFC 328? I hope you enjoyed this little video for my breakdown of the prelim card for UFC 328, and I will be giving you the next video for the UFC 328 main card, which is very, very exciting, of course. So stay tuned for that. Have a nice fight week, and we'll see each other in the next one. Bye.